If you're a mom and an artist, you know that balancing the two is extremely difficult. The days start really early, the nights end whenever they end. Motherhood is beautiful and it's exhausting. I really felt like I lost myself. My identity was so tied to being an artist. And then suddenly, every ounce of my energy was directed towards keeping this tiny human alive. And then on top of that, the pandemic hit. I missed out on those connections that new moms really need. So it was totally understandable that postpartum depression hit me. But here's the thing, we're not alone. So many moms feel this tension. The guilt for trying to carve out time for ourselves, the exhaustion of having to show up for everyone else but ourselves, and the quiet fear that maybe our art doesn't matter anymore. This video is me being really honest about what it's like to make art and raise kids at the same time. The messy parts, the joyful parts, and how I'm slowly finding balance again. If you have ever felt torn between motherhood and your creative self, then this video is for you. My days start before 6:30 a.m. almost every single day, usually with someone screaming for food. There are mornings where I wake up and after I send my kids off to daycare and kindergarten, I really need to take a nap because I'm just so burnt out from being a mom and trying to balance my art making life with making these videos, being a loving partner to my husband and being a good mom, but also taking care of myself and recognizing that I need to love and take care of myself too. When my oldest kid was born, I had a bit of an identity crisis. I was really connected to and clinging on to my daily rituals and my to-do lists. And when I wasn't able to check off things from my to-do list, I became really frustrated because I had connected so much of who I was with being an artist, and being a new mom at the time really butted heads with this identity of being someone who makes stuff. Also, when my oldest was born, it was exactly the day that the pandemic started. It really messed with my mind because I think when you're a new mom, you really need connection with other moms, so I didn't get a lot of that early motherhood stuff. I wasn't able to go to mommy and me groups. I wasn't able to go to the grocery store and have people say, oh, your baby's so cute. There's some things that I missed out on, and looking back on it, pretty much every other mother that I knew at the time was suffering from postpartum depression because it was the pressures of being a new mom on top of navigating this pandemic that we're living in. I feel like I'm at a good place now though, where I'm able to balance my home work life with my family life. It's been a big struggle though, and I've really had to make some significant changes in my mindset. I feel like only in the past month or two have I felt like I've been in a more balanced state and feeling like I can do this and not feeling so overwhelmed by motherhood and being an artist and making these videos and all of these things that life requires from me right now. The year 2020 through now has been a significant and difficult time of my life. So I think it's an understatement to say that there hasn't been too much time during these past years to even think about art or think about my creative life or what it would look like now that I'm a mother. Now that we have solid childcare for our youngest and our oldest is in kindergarten, I feel like I have just a little bit more time to think about the kind of work that I want to make now. Sometimes though, I struggle with feeling guilty for choosing 20 minutes to edit a video versus watching a movie with my kids. But I've learned that I need to let go of that so that I can feel fulfilled in my own creative life. And I know that I'm a great mom and I'm really good at what I do. Making these videos has been really fun. It's been a little cringe, to be honest, but documenting life really feels like an important part of my rebirth into my creative life. All these mom hacks are nice, but they don't address certain parts of what it's like to be a mom in the year 2025 in America in a very meaningful way. Here's the honest part about what it's like being an artist and a mom. I have to fight for my time. I have to advocate for my time, especially to the people who I love, to my support group. I need to say, I really need to finish this video. Can you please watch the kids? And I'm constantly having to claw back my time. And it's not just in the day-to-day, also in the bigger sense of validating myself that my creative work matters and is important. And this struggle and this pressure that I feel, I know is connected to something much larger. And it's the way that our society still expects women, but also queer people and people of color to exist in roles that are really limiting. And a function of the patriarchy has always been control. And one way that I've been experiencing it lately is in financial control. The patriarchy often determines who makes the money, who holds the resources, whose time is considered valuable. And for women, for mothers, that often means that our value is based on how well we care for others, not by our creative contributions or our businesses or our art. And I'll be honest, sometimes it feels like my role as an artist has to be defended, even in my own head. Now we're entering a time in our country's history, again, when toxic masculinity is glorified and where white supremacy is okay and Christian nationalism is taking a stronger grip on American politics. If you haven't noticed the real ways in which women, queer people, and people of color have been disenfranchised in America more and more apparently recently, then you are not paying attention. Just to name a few things, women's reproductive rights and healthcare rights have been taken away with the overturning of Roe v. Wade. The COVID pandemic pushed a lot of women out of the workforce to take care of childcare needs, further expanding the gender pay gap between men and women. Queer people, especially trans people, face higher and higher rates of violence in America. Book bans targeting queer authors and queer stories are becoming normalized. Rollbacks of the Voting Rights Act is diluting Black, Brown, Indigenous, and Latino votes all over the country. And there's a very distinct effort to whitewash U.S. history, to gloss over more than 200 years of slavery and white supremacy. It is a lot to take in, especially with raising two small kids. And I make sure to give myself the grace to feel overwhelmed and to feel sad and to feel rage, because this is very upsetting. It's hard not to get sucked into the despair of it all and to keep making my art. So, when I'm not thinking about the patriarchy and white supremacy, I work in and around my art studio. A lot of my time recently has gone into improving my garage studio so that I can more comfortably make my art videos and do some filming inside of there. I finally replaced the garage door with an insulated one that has windows in it. And the natural light has changed everything. And I set up my green screen to film my Tiny Islands video. The green screen might be a little overkill, but I'd rather go overkill than underkill, I guess. All in all, it feels like my garage studio is making a lot of progress, and I feel like it's at a good place. This week, Tender Loving Empire placed a big order for buttons and risograph prints. So this is what I am going to drop off at their warehouse today. 200 celebrity glitter buttons, 24 Strawberry Lake riso prints, 24 Curiosity riso prints, 16 Freedom Fish risograph prints, 20 Clarity risograph prints, and 20 Butterfly Turkey Tail risograph prints. When I drop my orders off at their Southeast warehouse location, it's always a really quiet and quick transaction, but all these repetitive steps, the making the artwork, the separating the files, the making of the buttons, the packaging of prints, all of these things feel like they add up to a career. There is something really grounding in knowing that these little things that I do add up. And after the drop off, I do my ritual, which is always getting Botto's barbecue because it's just down the street and it's great. Every time I drop off my buttons and my prints at Tender Loving Empire, their warehouse, it's in like southeast, pretty far from where I live. But every time I come here, there's this barbecue place called Botto's Barbecue, and I love their barbecue. I'll only come on Wednesdays because that's when they have their prime rib sandwich special. And it like comes with this jus, and they actually have a really good mac and cheese. So every time I come to Tender Loving Empire, that's like my time to come here and get myself a treat. Let's go get some barbecue. My sister was helping me make buttons all day while I was dropping off my prints, so I picked up some barbecue for her and for my husband for lunch. And it's funny, I realized after I filmed that there were just so many dudes in Botto's Barbecue. I was like, is this a man restaurant? And I think it is, but I was okay with that because they have really good barbecue. The guy at the front counter is really funny, and he told me he was on Guy Fieri's show, so he's like a natural at this. Overall, 10 out of 10 day. Balancing art and parenting is really brutal at times, but it's always beautiful. And I find so much joy in being their mother, but I also find joy and happiness in being an artist as well. And finding this balance between motherhood and being an artist has been, I think, the biggest challenge of these past 5 years. So thank you so much for watching, and please watch this next video where I show you how I make these alligator earrings with my friend Gabby Lala.